I mean, I had an accidental first orgasm. I had no idea that they even existed.
Wait,
wow.
tell us.
That's amazing.
Welcome to Secrets of a Sugar Daddy. Here's your host, Marcus.
Welcome to another episode of Secrets of a Sugar Daddy. I am Marcus, and my co-host today is
Amy.
Amy, welcome back.
Hi,
welcome to the new year.
Welcome, yes.
I'm excited for this year.
I am too.
I think it's going to be a good one.
I know. You have to tell me about all your affirmations or whatever that you... New resolutions.
My resolutions?
Yeah, affirmations as well. I'm going to do those daily. But
I think those are already over.
Oh, yeah.
They lasted about a week.
Yeah, for sure.
Isn't that usually how it goes?
Yeah, it's just about.
I hit the gym once.
Oh, really? Oh,
was
gosh.
good.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what, another person who hits the gym actually a lot, because I know she does, and she tells me about it. We have a guest today, Julia. Welcome to our program.
Yes.
Hey,
Hi,
hello.
Julia.
So happy to be here. I actually just came from the gym. So
Oh,
See,
haha.
I told you.
There we go.
I knew it.
Strong.
Julia, you have quite a story. I've known you well, I've really got to know you in the last month or two, but we actually met a couple years ago over dinner. Or actually, it was just over, I don't remember what it was, like an afternoon drink or something.
Yeah, it was. And it was almost 3 years. Well, 2.5
Maybe it
plus.
was 3 years ago, yeah.
Yeah, I had just gotten on the site within a month or two.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were one of the first people I met.
And it went nowhere.
Nowhere. Not because of me. Not at all because of me.
Oh, it was my fault.
Oh,
It was, yes.
That's funny.
Now, you were married.
Yes, I was married for 10 years, almost exactly. Very strict religious culture that I grew up in.
We find that a lot.
Yeah.
I know, I've heard that a lot on the podcast.
So many of our guests come from a very strict religious background.
Yeah.
Saying something.
Well, and I've resonated a lot with some of the other guests because coming from that marriage, going through not only leaving the marriage, deciding, that's trying to shortcut this whole story, but knowing I shouldn't have gotten married within a week or two of getting married. But you make such a commitment.
Really?
And
How long were you guys dating?
the time that we met to the time we got married,
yeah.
6 months. So,
Oh,
You were still kind of in the
Yes,
honeymoon
very.
period.
a little bit,
Well,
yeah.
I mean, they just started dating. They've only been dating for 6 months.
Yeah,
My best friend did that.
We got engaged after 6 weeks. So,
Oh,
yes.
he did that too.
Yeah, yeah.
And he was divorced.
And that's normal. And I
Yeah.
actually know a lot of people in the community I grew up in.
It's a very morbid thing.
It's a very morbid. I know, Marcus knows.
Okay. Yeah.
But I know a lot of people who have successful marriages.
Right.
That's how it went. One of my younger sisters, that's how it went for her. And they've been married almost 10 years now. So it just didn't work for us. And even well into the marriage, it took a while, but we both acknowledged we were never really in love in a sense that we should have been married. And because of all of that and the variables that it went into a strict religious culture where sex isn't even talked about. Never. I had an accidental first orgasm. I had no idea that they even existed.
Wait,
wow.
tell us.
That's amazing.
Hold on.
It was really
Yeah, she's
amazing.
like, wow, what
Wow.
is this?
Yeah,
All right,
how do we do that again?
Stop with the story right now. And we want to know about the accidental orgasm.
Yeah, now we got to hear about this.
I mean, so I had been explained how sex worked, but that was off the table. And I was dating somebody, I think I was 19, and I was dating someone that was not Mormon. And, there was a lot of pressure from his side to go further. So making out was always hot and heavy, and I would have to stop it and everything. But literally just on a couch, like grinding, dry humping to the point where I was just like, whoa, boom, all of a sudden. So
there it was.
yeah. And after that session, it was the next day where I actually reached out to a friend of mine, and they call them Jack Mormons. And she was a little on the edges as far as following the rules. And I messaged her and I was like, what is this? And also there was something in his pants. I don't know. Literally.
God, that is oh my God, that's the most innocent comment I've ever heard.
I know. I've come a long ways.
That is so great.
And she's like, don't you know how sex works? And I'm like, yeah, well, of course I do. But it was just the whole hard, soft and hard. I didn't know. Yeah. And he ended up being the first person that I actually slept with. I lost my virginity to him, but he was really well endowed, and I was bruised the next day, and I was like, oh my gosh, but it was worth it. So, okay, let's, so yeah, it was just really funny. But I came from that to, eventual, ending up with my ex-husband, and he was older than me and had been married. And we got along really well as far as not being as strict within the religious culture as a lot of other people. So we connected that way, and he's still a very good friend. So it was a great journey. It was just...
But you guys entered it cordially. Yeah. That's nice.
Yeah. So we were separated for 3 years. The last 18 months or so, we did open. And it was mostly because I was done being a part of that religious community, and I knew that, and he was not. And so there was a lot of difficulty there with him not wanting to get divorced and me wanting to kind of push to explore my own self, my sexuality. I was really tired of being in a marriage where we really never had sex, or I would initiate and get turned down. That was really common. He had a lot of, I don't want to say baggage, but his wife prior to me, she was, won't go into it, but it made it so that sex was very difficult for him. But open ended up being really great for us because it healed so much of the, removing the expectations, right? So much of what we experienced with dating on the site was very similar, where I just suddenly just appreciated him for who he was and didn't put any kind of commitment pressure or whatever. And I was out dating other people, just using normal dating sites. He wasn't at first, and then eventually he did start to, because he decided to leave.
Okay, so I'm very curious. So he was still active in the church? Mm-hmm. And how did this conversation of you being open, how did he receive that so well?
Kind of a funny story too. So we had been separated for quite a while, and we're living separate. And I had basically said, I'm ready to get divorced. You let me know. And he was kind of texting me occasionally, but we didn't have a lot of communication.
So you guys weren't even living together?
No, and hadn't been. This is maybe almost 18 months into being separated. And he had come by my place to get some stuff out of the trailer that we were living in. And he left some condoms on the nightstand. And he texted me after, just letting you know I got the rest of my stuff out. But I left something on the nightstand if you're interested. It was just really almost flirty to the point where I was like, who is this? Because we had not had any kind of, and especially when I saw it, I was like, God, they were expired. That is how old they were.
Oh my gosh.
Because
if you're interested.
I know. Yeah, I'm like, these things expire. So
oh my God.
We'd had them because we off and on were trying to not have kids, so we had some. But so he just had left them there. And I was like, what are you implying? And he's like, well, so he got into a little more, and he's like, I've been learning and trying to understand the female body. And I realized that I did a lot of harm to you because I just rejected you as a woman. And he's like, I want to try. I want to play. If you're open to that, let me know. And it took maybe a month because I was just like, I don't know if I want to open this door.
So he's the one who brought it up, not you.
Wow. And he even he knew, he's like, I know, because with the garment and everything, he knew that it was very apparent. I was no longer, and I kind of let him know. We hadn't had a lot of conversation, but he's like, I know you're probably sleeping with other people, and I'm fine with that. And he was still going to practice, and in his brain, weird Mormon logic, I don't know, but I'm okay because we were married, so he can, and so it doesn't matter what I do, but I would be the only one he could be with because he'd made that commitment before God, if that makes sense. Oh. So it was okay to do this, even though most Mormons would be like, no, that's not okay. But
yeah, it was a way for him to just, I don't know, put everything in, keep it in his reality, I guess. I don't know. It's just a weird, our minds.
Justification.
Yeah, our minds
rationalization.
Rationalization, sure.
Our minds just can't handle some stuff. And so it definitely rationalizes.
Yeah.
All right. So now you're open.
I know. So going through all that, it was super fun. I mean, we tried so many things that I had never tried, and just had a lot of fun.
Oh, come on, Marcus. Well, we gotta let's get.
I was gonna say nothing that wild, but you can imagine at that point everything was whoa, because I was
you were just blown away.
I was.
Wow,
it was fun.
Absolutely amazing. Yeah. That's really great on his part. I think that's really amazing.
So what did that do for your relationship?
We'd already done so much counseling and so much work and everything. But we actually got to a point where we were like, are we in love? Like we had this, because so much of the baggage started to fall away, and there was all of this like forgiveness and healing that was happening every time we'd spend time together and just like not be fighting. Imagine that. And I don't know, just we got much more connected, and there was a bit more of a deeper level of emotional intimacy because there was more intimacy, I think, which was really, really nice. A little confusing, but because then we kind of went back and forth as like, should we actually get divorced? And I could have kept doing that for quite a while, but he met somebody that did not want, she wanted to be monogamous, and he ultimately want to be. So So it was kind of just like, oh, it's time.
But at least he like met her though. That's really nice, and that's probably
they didn't even date. But
oh, okay. Wham bam, thank you, ma'am.
I know. Right. So he has a girl. I mean, it's fine. It was time. Yeah. So it was right about that point that I was just like, okay. It's so interesting that I went from being married and separated on Hinge or whatever, and the guys that I would date would be like, oh, that's cool, that's fine, and because I tell him like, I'm open. I'm just looking for something casual, and that was fine. Although within a couple of dates, they still get really clingy and possessive, like
sure
so many of the men do. Yeah. But then I went to being like, I'm divorced, and all of a sudden it was just different. I got different reactions from men. Yeah, and a little bit more pressure for commitment. Just saying I was divorced, but I'm looking for something casual. I feel like I was looked at differently.
Is that why you like, Amy, is that why you like dating the married men?
Absolutely.
Because they don't pressure you for that commitment.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm like,
interesting.
I'll hightail it out of there. I don't care how charming you are. I like don't want possessive. I don't want to be.
I know.
And she gets it too.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So, some of the pressures that men put on her and
to have their babies. I cannot tell you how many guys have asked me to, like, I had one guy not too long ago asked me to freeze my eggs.
Oh my goodness.
For him.
I haven't heard that one.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, we haven't.
Yeah, I was going to say I haven't gotten that one. I have gotten them many times within a couple of dates. Like, you know what? My house is big enough for you if you want to move in, and and I'll buy you a car and and all these different things. And I'm like, can you do all those things and I still live?
Exactly. I don't want to.
I don't know what the price of autonomy is. That's usually what I say. Is I'm like, I don't even know what that number is, but I want to sleep in my own bed. I want to live in my own space, So and it is. It's just they move really fast sometimes. So I just was like, I can't do this whole normal dating app thing anymore, and I just went off of all of them. And that's when, and I think Marcus, I've told you this story, but I'll recount it a little bit as far as how I found out about, like, I was aware of sugar dating and the lifestyle and everything, but I didn't know about any specific sites. And somebody on the site started using my phone number. This happened, deliberately, because this happened maybe 4 different times, where I got a text message from somebody, and they were saying, it's so-and-so from the site, and this is what I'm looking for, and giving me details or unsolicited dick pics or whatever, different things all of a sudden coming to my phone.
Don't send the dick pics.
I know.
Guys.
Don't want them. We don't.
No, leave it a surprise.
Wait,
I like the surprise, but at the same time, it's such a turnoff.
I have met a few girls who appreciate the dick pic, although I am not out there.
Are you talking about your ex?
Yeah. And
she belongs in a different realm.
And Eve, when she was in here. Oh, not Eve. Aubrey, when she was in here, the submissive sugar baby.
Well, that's kind of different. That's a different type of person.
Yeah.
Right? So,
but for the most part, men.
There's nothing wrong with being different like that, but I will tell you 90%, that's like 10%. I know. Like, so
there is a time and place,
man. It's a very small percentage. And I would say there's a time and place where I don't mind them or actually enjoy them, but imagine.
But the unsolicited.
Or you just got my number, literally. Yes.
That's your first message.
Oh, I got a video a month or two ago. Not just a pic, an actual video.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
And I was like, impressive, but unnecessary. Thank you.
Yes. Oh my gosh. There was a guy who did that, and we met on Bumble actually, but so Bumble now is doing like sugar dating. There's a lot of sugar daddies on Bumble right now too.
Yeah. I haven't really been on. I wouldn't know.
Yeah. And
I'm on there.
I got one and he wow, sent this video. He was like, I'm going to make you come so hard and blah, like you've never before. I'm like, dude.
Okay.
Yeah,
right.
let's do this. And he sends me a video and I'm just like, that's it? Like, okay. That's all you've got? Like, okay.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's I mean, yeah, the sexy lingerie, she looks cute. She looks pretty. You just, I mean, a dick can only go one way. And when it's a dick in a hole, it goes in and out one way.
It can't whirly dirly.
I've seen this before. Like, I don't know what you want me to say. Like, oh my God, I'm salivating. It's the worst. Okay, so back to your experience.
So you were getting these strange text messages.
Yes, yeah. And they were really strange because, I mean, just out of the blue. And because sometimes I don't remember specifics of any of them. Some of them talked numbers or had like explicit details as far as what they wanted and some particular fetishes and stuff. So that's where it was like, what is this? And most of them use an acronym instead of, so I didn't even know it was just SA. And I hadn't Googled it. And I just, immediately delete her. I'd be like, wrong number, and then delete it. But after it happened a couple of times, I was like, can you send me so I started looking into it, asked them to send me a screenshot of the woman. And that happened a couple of times. And it was the same person both times. And
I wonder how they got your number.
I don't know. I'm like, who did I piss off? I don't know. But it looked kind of like a stock photo too.
It was probably some guy.
Yeah,
who created a fake account and then was giving out your number.
But how did he get her number?
Well, he obviously knew her.
I was going to say he must have, but I'm thinking back to who it could have been. I have a guess or two. Mm-hmm. But at the time,
I've heard of it happening.
I just thought, what? So what's really funny is one of the last people that had sent it to me, he ended up, I think he's from Denver, and he ended up visiting Phoenix like 6 months later. And saw my actual profile.
Oh my God.
And messaged me. And I was like, do you remember? I was the first. This is what I really look like. And now I'm actually on the site. And he's like, holy shit. So it was just kind of really funny.
That is such an interesting beginning.
Yeah. So have you two met?
That guy? No, he wasn't my type. No. And he was a young daddy.
Young
daddy.
Oh, gosh.
But that didn't work out.
So so now I kind of want to get into like what you look for now because of everything that's happened to you.
Yeah.
And where you're at.
It's evolved over the time that I've been on the site for sure.
I met her when she first got on there and she seems like a different person to me
now.
I'm
sure. Yeah. There's been a lot of change in myself and growth as a result of which I'm going to give myself credit, but as a result of being on the site and the experiences that I've had, it's been really interesting to just explore myself, push my own boundaries in different ways, see different types of people. It's been really interesting and very ego boosting,
Yeah,
so I've lost a lot of weight and I went from being this very reserved Mormon to so it's a lot of fun. I was like, I don't know what to call me now.
Stunning.
The opposite of reserved Mormon.
Yes. She kind of didn't finish that sentence.
No, she's being modest. It's very cute.
I kept the modesty a little bit still.
Yeah. There, it's all right. Yeah, no, you're stunning. You're beautiful, gorgeous.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So tell us about your early days on the site.
Well,
those are really the most interesting, I think.
So a good friend of mine is on the site, and I didn't find out until after I had joined. And she's like, oh, yes, I've been using that for a while. So she kind of helped shorten my learning curve as far as, I don't know, problems, things like the things that we all run into and the scammers and just things to look for. And so that helped quite a bit, but I still ran into
there's so many good people on the site, but you got to figure out how to weed out bullshit to get to those good people.
Yeah, I'm really good at now, but at the time I wasn't as good. I mean, there's always been if you can't use a punctuation mark, then I'm probably not going to respond to you. But there's just other different things as far as, I think the biggest thing is that I now am so much more clear on what works for me and pretty firm about that and then upfront about that pretty quickly. And that really, really helps, which I wasn't enough back then. So I had some dates where I just wasn't very clear about that. And then they assumed that I was just, everything was open.
So, So do you gravitate more towards the PPM or what do you gravitate
towards? Yes, now I do. Yeah. And I'm open to other situations, but up front, I feel like that is what works best until something's working. But I mean, my longest arrangement, I just happened to meet this guy within a couple months of being on the site, and I wasn't upfront with him. I didn't, I wasn't as comfortable and or aware of what,
like what task,
what
to expect. And,
as far as how much time I'm giving, and because it can vary. It can really vary.
Every situation is different. Yeah. Amy she still struggles with that even to this day.
Absolutely. So I give too much of my time.
Yeah.
Well, and I have a tendency to as well. And so that's where it's like finding where that comfortable amount is for how much time that I'm giving, because I don't want to be looking at a clock. I don't. I want to just enjoy it and be like, you're keeping me up late, and that's it, but it's fun, and and I don't want to worry about it. Right. And so I didn't know what that number was at the beginning, but luckily with this guy, he just handed me an envelope. He just put an envelope in my purse, and he's a gentleman, and that arrangement went on for quite a while. And
I've had one of those, and I love those.
Yeah.
Those are the ones, like my first couple, that's how they were. Yeah. They just took care of me. Yeah. And I think I've expressed that before. Like I didn't have to say anything. They and that's how it truly was. Arizona is not like that.
Well, I was going to say that's not normal. I've seen, but that's what I say. I was very fortunate, and he is still a friend. Like, we got along so well, and everything just flowed really easily. And I was like, if this is how it is, then this is, perfect, right?
Yeah.
And so from that experience, I think it started to help me to get a little more confident with what I'm looking for, knowing, what the experience should be like for me to feel very
comfortable.
Yeah, comfortable, and also like it's fulfilling and enriching my life, because it has to. It's obviously all the pieces have to fit for it to work. So so has been over the past couple of years something that really helped to inform how I approach it. So
how long were you seeing, like how many times per week were you seeing him, or how did it go?
First, it kind of ramped up, of course, and probably it was about just over a year, because it was right around lockdown, actually. And he works in a hospital, but kind of phased back. But we had been at about 4 to 6 times a month. Okay. So a frequency that was high enough that feelings were getting involved. And so he was pulling back, and then lockdown happened, and he'd pulled back. And so then it kind of went in this like fizzled, and he'd pop back up, and then I saw him get back on the site a little while ago. And
so whose feelings were growing?
Definitely both of us.
Both.
Yeah, for sure. I think his were a bit more intense. He's admitted as such,
and he voluntarily pulled back because of that?
Yes, without communicating it. That was a lot of fun.
Now you're wondering what's going on.
Yeah. Oh, of course.
And makes you feel like
Amy hates that.
I hate it so much.
Yeah, she complains about that all the time.
It's this idea that because it's an arrangement, we don't have to communicate things. And I'm just like, that doesn't make sense to me. But at the same time, if you are wanting to have a no strings type of dynamic because you don't want to have a lot of heavy conversations, I understand that. And so it was always this thing of like...
But disclose it, and then... Yes. Because then we can kind of like protect... Because we can protect ourselves as well, because otherwise, I mean, it's just like a regular relationship. There's somebody, like if you just aren't clear up front from the very beginning... Yeah. I get a lot of guys who are like, oh no, I want the long term. I want all that.
Yeah.
And then it's like your actions just do not follow that. So I'll let my guard down a little bit, and I'll be like, okay, I'm a little bit more free to be with my feelings.
Yeah.
And I can get connected. I can get emotionally like involved with this person a little bit more, because I need that. And then all of a sudden it's like they just, from day one, they kind of act very different, and it's like, oh shit.
Well, and I had to kind of just suss it out by getting to know him. Obviously, the only times he'd say anything that was more sweet or a little bit vulnerable was after quite a few drinks, and then that stuff would come out. But then when he was really sober, all of a sudden he was very reserved again. And so that was me. I was kind of like, okay, but
hot cold,
which was frustrating.
So exhausting.
So did you find yourself drinking a lot?
Well, and I've watched him drink more and more and more, and so it got to a point where with that all happening, I kind of got a bit more aggressive with my communication with him, because I'm just like, this has been kind of uncool that you would, what's going on? And that's when he finally said, like, and this is over text, not even in person, but like, there were just too many feelings. And for me, I think maybe like you, I like to have my guard down a bit. I like to have that comfort, but I also feel like I'm very good at compartmentalizing. And so I'm fine with that. Like at that level, right? I didn't go like super deep, but it's like, I want to be able to have my guard down and get to know a person and start to share more. And I can have feelings develop. And I wasn't pressuring him. I wasn't asking anything more. Still never, like, hadn't ever met his kids. All of that was happening and I didn't care. I wasn't offended. I wasn't like, bring me into your life, treat me like a normal girlfriend. I wasn't doing any of that. So that's why I say I know it was him that had to, because I wasn't pressuring. I was like, I'm cool. This is fine. This is all fine. But he started pulling back and then struggled because he had feelings. And so then he would, and drunk texts are happening and things like that.
Drunk text.
I'm like, you're like 55 text. And you're drunk texting. Yeah. Okay.
Does that ever end?
I was going to say, I don't know if it ever ends, right? I don't know. So anyway, that all sounds like not a great story, but ultimately, like, he's a good person. And I was really happy to have that experience.
So it just kind of phased out? I mean, how did that end?
Yeah, well, let me think of the timeline, because lockdown happened, and then it was a couple months later that he started reaching out a bit more, like the drunk texting and things like that would increase. And I'm like, if you want to get together, let me know. If you could text me before like 11 p.m., that'd be cool.
Oh, gosh.
That kind of thing.
I tell all mine, I'm like, listen, at 7 o'clock, mine is on silent.
Yeah, well,
I'm on sleep mode.
I'm pretty similar.
I used to call Amy at 6:30, and maybe we're talking about something, and I said, "What are you doing?" She's like, "I'm in bed, getting ready to go to sleep." It's 6:30. Like, well, I'm tired.
Okay, I'm not that bad, but I'm pretty close.
I wake up at like 4 a.m.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, just
I'm more like 5 or 6, but I still I want 8 or 9 hours of sleep. So similar. And there was a point in time where that was happening. He was reaching out that late, and I did go over a couple of times, and like, it's so late, like nothing actually fun is happening at that point because. Too much alcohol.
You're 3 shits.
I'm tired.
3 shits. Yeah. 3 sheets to the wind.
I'm sober. 3 sheets to the wind. It's like a midnight, and I'm like, why are we doing this? I'm feeling like
stuff.
Yeah. So then I ended up sending a text that was kind of harsh, because I was like, you're treating me like what I don't want to be treated like on this site. Like, I'm not just this late night booty call. So he was like, you're really right. I'm so sorry about that. And he's like, if I could take you to dinner, that would be great. And I'm like, okay, like, can we go back to like normal things? Mm-hmm. And so that went on for a little while, but then it's like every time after this, the feelings would come back, and then it would get weird again, and then he'd pull back, and then it would be, and so then.
Oh my gosh, that is I'm exhausted even listening to it.
I know.
So hot and cold. Oh, I'm good. Yeah.
So it was I think I saw him get back on the site in the spring of this year, maybe, and he, I saw him look at my profile, and now his profile has the little button that says marriage minded ticked. Which is weird, because he never.
But you would have
pushed. There was a period of time where I might have considered it. Right, there was a little window.
You went through all this like up and down roller coaster stuff, and no,
and also like communicate, say something. We never. I'm like, I was so surprised to even see that. I mean, surprised, but also it's just weird. So I was just like, happy. I literally said, "Happy hunting."
Oh, there you go.
He was like, "No one could ever replace you," and I'm like, I know, but still, good luck. Yeah. So it's just been this silly in the last, I don't know, 3 or 4 months. It's like I'll hear from him every couple months. And sometimes he wants to go to dinner. Sometimes he just says, hi, how are you? And I think that he's realized like it's not a good idea to, I don't know. I don't know.
Throw away a good thing.
Yeah, I guess.
Be a little more vulnerable, I guess. I don't know. Be more open and honest about with yourself first, and then get into something. Because I don't know. I think just going into it willy-nilly is not a good idea. Because
willy-nilly?
Yeah, I mean, like, think about it. How many times have you met girls that have no clue what they're going after or what they want, and then they just like become obsessive, like the one girl who's just crazy. I mean, batshit crazy.
One girl was crazy?
Oh, yeah.
So like, which
you gotta
one?
specify.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, right. No. Yeah, you know it.
Oh.
Yeah. She's nuts. Yeah. Anyways, but continue.
All right. Then you're thinking, well, time to jump back on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And how crazy has it been?
I mean, because of how up and down it was, I had actually met somebody else and had an ongoing that I ended a couple months ago.
Oh,
and that one went really, really well. But it was another situation of too much pressure. It started to happen, so it was going really well, I thought. But the ways in which he was assisting made it so that he thought he had ownership.
Ownership almost.
And related to like housing and where I live and what part of town I live in. And I'm just like, no, because I just moved in November and signed a new lease on a place, and he was trying to get me to move out closer to him, and I was just like, no. And there's just the no strings thing gets difficult, I think, for some people. So
yikes.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of people do fall in love on the site, and I get it. And a lot of people get married. There's something for everyone there.
Yeah.
There's a very good relationship coach on YouTube. His name's Corey Wayne. He's wrote a book called 3% Man. I get a 0 from recommending that book. But it's helped me tremendously because he talks about all these mistakes that men are making and these mistakes that you just brought up.
Yeah.
Love is fine. Let it happen.
Yeah.
Don't force it.
Yeah.
And I think when you start forcing it, that's what puts the pressure on everybody.
Yeah.
If you just kind of let things happen naturally, then you're going to find what you're looking for, I believe. But it's in Audible, because I listened to it through audible.com. And basically you're just talking about do these 3% things, not the 97% of the things that the other guys are doing. And you're going to find success in your relationships, whatever you're looking for.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
It really does.
And I just keep hearing it over and over, these mistakes these men are making.
Well, and I found it seems like a really high percentage of the men on that site make some of these specific mistakes in regards to the pressure and let's move things further, because you're having a different dynamic, right? It's the arrangement dynamic where, we're not in this as like a real relationship, and maybe they want to go in that direction, but they skip steps. So the last one I was just referring to, we didn't have a lot of in-depth conversation. It was very lighthearted as far as an arrangement, like when I was recounting, we'd have these deep conversations and talk about really tough things. And this last one, I could tell he just wasn't that way. And it was fine. And we'd laugh a lot and it was a lot of fun. And I felt very comfortable with him, but there wasn't any real depth. And so it was just so interesting that I'm like, you want to start taking these steps to put pressure. And I'm like, you don't really know me, Right. And even these people that have asked me to move in, I'm like, you do not want to live with me. I promise you do not want to live with me. You have no idea, and it's not like I'm being fake or, disingenuous when I'm with people. It's just that we're seeing the best. And I'm sure it goes both ways where we're seeing a lot of the best of one another. And I'm like, do you really want to put up with me every 28 days? Like, is this really what
right. Well, Amy would get guys professing their love for her after the second or third date. And I'm telling her, I've known you for a couple years. They haven't seen the side that I've seen.
Exactly.
They have no idea what they're in for.
Like, you don't know who you love.
Calm down. I'm right here. Like, dear Lord, we sound horrible. My gosh.
No, but there's two sides to everybody.
There are.
Well, and it's called a period. But
even not. Like, I'll be first to admit that I love having my own space because I'm very particular about certain things in my life. And I like being that way and I'm comfortable with that way. And so it's just more of that where it's like, you don't see these sides of me. Like, I wear compression socks to bed every night. That's not sexy, but that is not changing,
Exactly,
So it's just these little things and it's fine. I'm cool with who I am. It's just, I think these men and there's been quite a few, like, not false starts, but people I've seen for a couple of times. And I've had quite a few people say, you know what, I actually can't do this because you're exactly the woman that I would want to be with forever. And that is just like, they admit to me that it's too much.
Right.
And I respect that. I mean, it sucks when it's happening, but I'm like, just don't fall in love. Just don't do it. But I can understand that it's hard. It's hard sometimes to keep it all. I don't know.
So you don't want to fall in love at all? Or do you? I mean, I think everyone does, but like where you're at, like right now in life. So what's your like goals? What's your priorities?
Yeah, I've just been so busy focusing on my own work and my business and transitioning from what has been paying my bills the last 8 or 9 years to something completely new. And that's taking a lot of work. And I'm in some school-ish for. I have a weekly class for it. There's a lot going on because now I'm juggling both and trying to build that. And so it's more of just a mental
right. And then
capacity.
Trying to juggle these guys.
Yeah.
it's
the
so,
capacity.
they don't realize how much
it
is.
It is. It's a lot. Yeah. Especially, it can be. It can be. If it's too much, I'm immediately like, bye. But yeah.
So what I find interesting is here I meet Julia on the site, and she's owns her own business, very well spoken, very driven. I mean, a lot of times people get a bad kind of stigma of what a sugar baby is or what the lifestyle's about.
Yes, I know.
Do you talk about that with anyone? Like, do you admit that you're on the site?
Usually, so like my good girlfriends, that they'll know, because it's not. I don't like feeling like I have two lives or something like that. So it's like if you're in my inner circle, you probably know. My ex-husband knows.
And
I accidentally butt dialed him on one of my first dates. Like literally one of the first.
Oh my god!
So he heard and he listened for 45 minutes. So
45 minutes.
He's like, I promise I hung up when there was heavy breathing, and I'm like, do you swear? I don't even know, because I didn't know that he'd listened for 2 or 3 months, but we were divorced, and I wasn't relying on him for anything any longer. And I think he was maybe suspicious too. So he just listens to this conversation.
And he was like, oh, here we go. This is
wow.
Yeah. So I used to send him my location occasionally and things like that.
Well, that's nice.
Yeah. So I do share it with people. It's not something that I feel weird about or shame about or anything. But I do get all the time from people on the site that one of the first messages is almost always, you seem so different than the other girls, or it's very refreshing to see your profile, or things like that. I get those comments all the time, or when they meet me. It makes me really mad when I get it in person where they're like, why is such a normal girl like you on here? Or you're just so amazing. I'm like, that's actually like why I'm on this, that's a huge part of how I'm smart enough to, and I think have a mental and emotional capacity to be, in these arrangements, because I feel like that's, I can actually like eat you up and spit you out. Like,
we had an episode on mental health, and you have to be in a certain place to find success on the site.
Yeah,
because
it's tough.
Yeah.
It's really
it can be
tough.
taxing on the mentality.
It is, yeah.
I mean, I've had moments where I thought I was fine mentally, and then honestly, like a guy will say something, and it will just
it hurts you.
Hurts so bad.
That does still happen to me too. Yeah, it depends.
But I will say, like, now that I'm kind of getting further along into my like schooling and whatnot, I'm becoming more and more stronger. It was just like a weak point, right? Like we all go through ups and downs.
Yeah.
And so it's just that moment, like just that little moment of weakness that really sucks. But
and I think that's why Marcus says I seem like a different person, is because my divorce was barely I don't even know if it was final. It was right around that time when we met, because it was when we filed. Soon after that is when I discovered it and created a profile and everything. Yeah. So it was in that time where, I mean, even though the divorce was a long time coming and it was still, I don't know. I look back at 2019 and it was kind of a hard year. And so I know that impacted how I showed up with people, or how strong I felt in regard to messaging with people and stuff like that.
And then thank goodness for COVID. A lot of people were like, they hated COVID. I loved it, because I really had to like stop and like take a look at myself, right? And work on myself and become stronger that way. So it helped with me anyways. I know it didn't help with you because I was there all the time, but that's all right, Marcus.
You made Shutdown very interesting.
Yeah, you're welcome. I tried. But anyways, I hear a lot of that.
Now, are you on any other dating apps?
There have been times where I get on to Hinge or Bumble, but no. And it's very interesting.
It's hard to go back, isn't it?
Yes, very hard, because all of a sudden there's a lot more games going on and a lot of people being kind of cagey, or I don't know. It's different. I like the blunt communication that we get over on Seeking. Yeah. And the other problem is that with expectations, when you're on they change, like in your head, they just change. So I go over onto Hinge thinking maybe I'll just try and meet somebody, normal dating situation. All of a sudden my standards are like through the roof for everything.
Yes, absolutely.
And I'm like, why are you guys all 5 years old? Like, what is happening?
You know,
suck. They all of them. And then I'm like, I don't want to hate men. I really don't. I love men. I revere men. It's a thing. And so I get it, and I'm like, I have to get off because I'm just like, this is just like, I have no faith in humanity any longer. Right. I just get off of the site.
And the conversations are just, like you said, they're so basic. It's just, I'm like, this is small talk to me, and it drives me insane. I don't want the small talk. Give me some of the nitty gritty stuff. Don't send me a dirty pic, but give me the nitty gritty stuff, you know? That's, I feel you.
Yeah. So I don't know. I've thought many times, like, I would just love to meet somebody organically in real life. Like, hopefully that will happen. And so I don't put a lot of effort into normal dating. I don't have a lot of free time anyways.
He has to be successful for me anymore. I refuse. I do not want to date anyone who's making less than I am.
Yeah, I've thought about going on. There's like Luxy, or there's a couple of these, you know, where they're not sugar sites, but they're just for people that are successful people that want to meet. Yeah, so maybe I'd have to do that if I decided to.
There was one I saw the other day. It was like $10,000 though.
Oh yeah, Luxy's pretty expensive. I looked into it, even for for both sides, right? Because they want to.
They want to be sure that you're who you are.
What's $10,000?
This dating site. This like
for you to join.
Yes.
That's more like a matchmaking service.
Yes,
exactly.
Yeah. But you're guaranteed, and like somebody does all the hard work for you.
Yeah, they do.
I mean, think about it.
I mean, they have shows about that. Right.
Oh, well, yeah. I guess I don't know.
Yeah. Well, most girls don't have $10,000 to.
There's a lot of girls out there that do.
Yeah, I know, but
I mean, there's been points in the last couple of years I did. If I wanted to put it toward that, I just that's not what I would have put it toward. Yeah,
right. I put it towards other shit. That was. Where is it now?
Yeah.
I'm just teasing, but I don't know.
That wasn't a very nice thing to say. How most girls don't have.
Yeah, that was really mean. Like, my goodness.
Yeah, let me rephrase that.
What's happening to your brain since being on the site?
I guess I've just met. Unfortunately, I've met a lot of desperate, needy. Women
no, but okay,
seeking.
Like this is what this is. Yeah, I just had the conversation the other day with somebody like this. Like, in fact, the sugar daddy that I will be like, I'm trying to replace, right? Mm-hmm. So him and I just had this conversation. Girls are on the site for a reason. Like we're on there. Yes, there's a lot of them, but either way, like we do need help, right? There's in some way or another, we need help. Like we're not just on here like giving it out because we want to be like a prostitute or a hooker. Like that's not what it is. Legit want to have help, right? I mean, there are the younger girls, we've talked about this, that want the handbags. But they're still wanting something,
and
right?
I've told a story about a girl I met, and she says, I'm not looking for anything except an older, successful guy.
But she wants, I mean, at the end of the day, it's like
she wants to be taken care of.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's the same thing, and guys just don't seem to get that here. It's just like, oh, no, get on freaking Tinder or Bumble and, like, go play your stupid games over there, because...
Well, especially the 20-somethings that are on the site. So
those are so irritating.
Yeah,
God.
it's so annoying.
So
make it worth it if you take the afternoon off. I got that one today.
Oh, you did? Oh,
I was like, guess what? You're going to come up today in this podcast. Not in a flattering light.
There you go.
What's the story?
Oh, it was just a person that sent me a message today wondering if I could play hooky for him, and he would, make it worth my while.
Yeah.
And I was just like, and that was one of the first messages, and I was just looking through my messages like, oh man, is this somebody I can play with? Like as far as mentally play with? Like, and that's why I was like, oh, that's so funny, because you're going to get a shout out on this podcast. Yeah.
That's you. We're talking about you.
Yeah. Well, and he's like, I'll make you come so many times, similar to what you were just recounting. And I was like, you're really gonna have to try harder than that.
Yes, exactly.
to make me like blow off my day for you.
Right?
Like, what are you? What are these people?
So
thinking?
what number?
I was gonna say,
what is
right?
that? That's what I really
number?
wanted to say. I would love to say that.
I know.
Somebody.
I just don't talk numbers on the site ever, and I'm not gonna give this guy my phone, even my burner. No, we're not gonna do that. It's just so it's like trying to say that in a way
that won't get you kicked off the site.
Because I did get kicked off the site one time.
Did you?
Yeah. It was temporary. They just like, I don't know what they do, freeze my profile or something. And I got an email saying you can't talk numbers. And it was literally a situation of a guy in like Spain, who's like, hey, baby, you want to do this and this and this? And I was like, it's going to be this much. And I'm just, again, like, let's see what response is. It's going to be this much money and he's like, no, that's ridiculous. And if he was, and so then he reported me, I guess. And because
I think
I
they
put
actually
a number,
monitor it.
Well, I've had people,
maybe both.
Yeah, I've had people
90%.
talk numbers on there, and they're still active.
Yeah, I would say I get numbers thrown at me all the time, and they are banned, right?
Yeah.
I think it's just to get reported.
If you get reported.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I was wondering.
That's why I was assuming he might have reported me because I ticked him off and I mentioned a number. And then, sure enough. It's so funny. Has this happened to either of you that you get temporarily banned? Because they send this pre-form.
Well, I thought, okay, so
somebody I know it just happened, and she just like, I don't even know why, but I see her account's still active.
Yeah.
It got activated again.
Yeah, so they send you this pre-form email, and it says you must reply back with this specific verbiage. That's just like a CYA for them to say, like, I understand that the site's not this or transactional this and this, and you just like, I agree to that, and I'll adhere to the policies. Send it back off, and they're like, "Thank you," and they reactivate it like that. So,
God, I thought I
probably
did that, and I got like my one account was like for free because I get like if you
you're a student email or whatever,
I get free.
I'm a little too old for that, so I pay.
I mean,
it's still
I'm
cheaper
30.
than the guys.
I'm 30 something. I'm still going to school. I'm in school, but it's just like I utilize that. I'm trying to use.
No, smart, very smart.
And so it just is like okay, because I don't want to pay for that crap.
No, I mean it's $15 a month. I'm like I can handle 15.
Is that what it is for the women?
Just to get, I think it's you get 20. The read. Well, so if you pay in bulk, right? I just do like 3 months at a time. It's $45, and then you can see if they've read it and stuff like that.
Yeah, I don't.
So.
Does
I
it show you?
Shit. Somebody else could pay for me. That's my problem. Okay, go.
Does it show you the men that have signed up for the premium?
It does. Yeah, it just says premium versus diamond.
Yeah.
Premium or diamond. What about the men that haven't signed up?
Yeah, I don't know. It's weird because there's no button. Like there's nothing there.
Yeah.
And I feel like those are the most commonly the ones that their profiles, it's not active with it.
Yeah, because if I haven't paid my membership, women will still message me, but I can't read a message and I can't respond to them. But they still message me. Like I'll have, like when I re-up my membership, I'll have like 80 messages to go through.
Yeah.
And so, after like 3 or 4 months or 5 months, so they're messaging me. I'm like, do they not know that I'm not active?
Yeah.
I guess
no way
not.
to tell?
There's no way.
Yeah. I mean, there would be, now we know.
Yeah. Well, that's designed on their part because they want men to sign up.
And I try to look at the activity too, because usually it'll show like if you,
when
it's
they're
last active, I look at join date, and a lot of people hide that, but I display my join date because
I like to see the join date.
Same here. I don't want somebody that's been on there for like a year. Honestly,
I don't want somebody that's been on there for 1 day.
I was saying I'd rather see
a day.
a year.
Yeah, those people
deactivate like you do.
Me, well, I guess
and then pop back on.
For me though, like I look for long term. Like I only seek long term. I really don't like this like PPM shit. So if they've been on there for like a year and they're constantly on, I know that they're just going through women. They're cycling through. That's
not necessarily.
That is a pattern.
My profile's over 5 years old.
See, like that's an example.
How many girls have you been with?
I've had
how do you know he's looking for long term?
I've had 3 very long term arrangements.
Yeah.
Oh, I know that, but
a year and a half, 2.5 years, and then you and I were a year.
Okay,
and a
but
half.
you also just said that you let your membership expire.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So it doesn't necessarily mean that I'm cycling through hundreds of women, even though my membership is older.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Just at one point, I think it was after like 4 years, I counted up. I'd only actually been active like 5 times on the site.
Yeah, but I mean,
for a month at a time.
I guess in my experience, what I've noticed is like the guys that have had that, because I've gone on dates with them, like they cycle. Like they're cycling.
I feel like I can tell the men that are that way because they message you again and and I'll end up just blocking them. Like I didn't respond to you the first time or the second time or whatever, and you're always here and you're always looking at my profile.
Exactly.
And to me that just means you haven't found anyone long term, or you're just like the flavor of the month kind.
Yes.
And if that's the case, then I'm not going to talk to you. And though that's usually how I suss them out. I mean, I can tell within just having a conversation with a person if it's like, I know what you mean by the PPM kind, and I'm looking like even all my long terms, they've always been that way, but it was established that we wanted something ongoing and we both were looking for long term. So that's what matters to me. I don't care how whatever else beyond that,
Yes.
Like as long as we're on the same page with those things. Yeah,
I agree.
All right. So I know we're getting towards the end, but I want to hear a disastrous date.
Disastrous date? I was going to say, I had quite a few that were in my head as far as like what fun ones to share, but the one I was going to share is not disastrous. So I'll save it. No. I have a different disastrous one.
Okay.
Because we all have them.
No, yeah.
But why does it have to be disaster? If she's got one that she really wants to share,
no, it's okay.
It's like the news. They don't listen to the
smile.
news for the
she
good
really
stuff.
wants to share this.
No, I really want to share it because I want to see his reaction.
Well,
Let's do it.
No, we don't have
do
to.
it.
That's a problem.
No,
we
we've got
do.
time.
We've always got time.
Yeah, we've got time.
We've always got time.
I want to hear it.
Okay.
Let's hear it.
No, I wasn't sure if we did. So this isn't disastrous. This is just probably the most unique situation.
Okay, unique.
As far as I went into it thinking, I don't know if this is going to work or how it's going to work. And let's just be open to it. And this started before the most recent long-term that I had. So I was in between kind of because the prior long-term guy was off and on. And so this gentleman reaches out to me and says, I had prostate cancer. And it's really difficult for me to have typical intimacy. But I want to have intimacy. So I'm looking for somebody that is okay with just oral and specifically just me to him. And he was definitely older than my typical comfortable age range. But the way that he was just very well spoken, very respectful and everything. And I just said, okay, like let's meet and let's talk and everything. And there's definitely a generational, like a big enough generational gap that the conversation is
Awkward.
Lacking a little. Yeah, a little bit. But we talk politics. We lean the same way. It's like
You found some common ground.
Yes. Thank you. Yes, exactly. What's just so funny about this is because I didn't have a lot of experience giving oral. I mean, I did, but not, I went however many years of my life without really ever giving, maybe 3 years or before I was divorced. That was when I first was like, okay, let's do this, like to completion, right? Like I'm 35 years old before this even happens. And I used to have the worst gag reflex and I have a jaw pop that's pretty loud. So I was always like, I don't know if I can do that. But I met with him and he was super kind. And honestly, a little bit was like, wow, like he had prostate cancer and he fought it, but he just had surgery and like it was hard for him to move around and everything. And like he's just the sweetest, nicest guy. And so I was like, okay, let's do this, even though it's not intimacy for me. It's just for him. So it's probably the most of toward the edging of I don't know, working girl that you would,
right?
That's why I was like, I don't know, but I really like this guy, so I was like, okay. And it's also been really fun to practice,
hone your skills.
Yes,
hone my skills. So it's really infrequent because he actually got back on the site like 6 weeks ago.
Okay.
And because he's looking for actual intimacy and he hasn't broached it with me. And I don't know. At first I wasn't offended, but there was a little ego kick. Well, what's funny is that it's a friend of mine who he messaged. And so she and I are out and just having drinks. And she's like, this guy I'm messaging with, I don't know. He's a little bit old. And she shows me his username. And I was like, that's BJ guy, because they get nicknames, So that's BJ. And I was like, you don't want to have intimacy with him. I don't think that you do. But you should message with him because I want to know what's going on.
Right.
And why he's messaging you, because like I just saw him a week or two ago.
Yeah.
So she messages him and just kind of starts asking more because I want to see what he would say. And he's like, well, I had prostate cancer. And the only way I've been able to have any kind of intimacy is from this woman who gives really exceptional head. And she actually responds.
Well, that helps the ego.
She goes, shout out my girl.
Oh my God.
We've been drinking and then she's like, I'm not going to see this guy. I may as well.
Oh,
what's so funny is he still reached out like a week later and he's like, so your friend told me that.
Oh my
And I didn't know if he'd bring it up and he's like, you don't mind? I'm like, I don't mind. I really don't mind. Like if you're looking for somebody if that's what you would want to do, like I'm not bothered by that at all,
Reality is I don't really want to do it.
Yes, exactly.
Honestly,
so definitely go, elsewhere. But it's just like, it's just worked. The funniest part though of the story is the way that everything is set up. So when I first the first time or two, I was just like, this is really weird. But it's just what works. And I don't know, every man has what works for them. Right. And so there's this like chair. It's a very tall chair. And so he can sit and I can kneel. There's a full length mirror. So I can be seen. There is a spotlight at the top of the mirror.
Wow. You're in the spotlight, girl. Good
like
job.
A Home Depot spotlight. And I'm just like, really? Like, what's happening?
Wow.
Like, but it's just this particular setup that works. And yeah, so.
I just had mirror sex last night.
Last night?
Yeah. Like,
I mean, I love mirror sex.
I was just like, I could be into that.
Yeah.
Like, why not?
Yeah.
I think that's interesting. That's fascinating.
Wow.
Now, the spotlight thing, that, I mean, like,
that was the part.
Could you imagine like a strobe light? How fun would that be?
Strobe light.
I don't know. Like, get some like
I was
bumping
gonna say
music.
that might be distracting.
Like
yeah.
at a club, like a disco ball or something up there. That
I
would
don't know. She just gave me like a bunch of ideas.
I know.
I mean, why not put them on the spotlight?
Seriously,
you know? He's literally doing it to her.
Yeah.
So why do we always get into the really good stuff when we run out of time?
It's breaking the ice.
I warned you.
Yeah, we're always go so quick.
I know it does. Oh, we're already at an hour?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It goes really fast. You know how it goes.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it?
Yeah. Well, I want to thank Julia for coming in today.
Thank you.
It was a lot of fun.
For having me.
Yeah. We had talked about you coming on the podcast for a while, and here you are.
Here I am.
Yeah.
Yes.
It went great. Amy?
Yes.
Thank you for co-hosting today.
You're welcome.
I have so many questions for you now. I want to get into the mirror sex last night, so we're going to have to explore that. You don't have to let me
know about that guy,
yeah.
huh?
I hadn't heard that story.
Well, of course. It literally
Last
just
night.
happened. Maybe a little bit this morning. I don't know.
Oh, my gosh. All right, we're going to talk after.
No, it's all right. All right.
Anyway, hey, guys, follow us on Instagram. I am getting your comments and feedback there, and I am posting a lot of funny, sexy videos and pictures on there and updates about the show. So follow us there. I'd love a follow. Also on TikTok, YouTube, where are we? Facebook, Twitter, all the social media. Help us build our following there so we can spread news about the show. Hopefully you're enjoying it. And we'd love your comments also on our website, secretsofasugardaddy.com. And even if you want to be on the show, we'd love to have you. We can do it over the phone, through Zoom, in person. Just let us know. We want to hear your story.
I think it'd be really awesome if we could find couples reach out.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Sounds good.
All right.
All right. Until next show. Bye-bye.
Thanks for joining us. If you'd like to connect or even be on the show, we'd love to hear from you at secretsofasugardaddy.com.